are back with 843 TV at Schiller and Hamilton, and now we get to introduce, congratulations, Mayor Kevin of Port Royal, and brand new father.
Brand new daddy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How about that?
Thank you so much.
But on
Join the
top
club.
of that, you are one of the, you're a very important part of this law firm. So we're going to talk with you today about workers' comp.
He is, and we've talked about workers' comp before, but today what we really want to do is kind of dispel some of the myths and give people the truth about workers' comp. So we're going to have Kevin kind of talk about those issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So really, I mean, one of the most important things to know about workers' comp is that not only is it there to protect a worker that's injured, but it's also there to protect the employer as well. So, you know, it's there as a safety net for a worker. If somebody gets hurt on the job, you know, there's benefits there that can keep them afloat, so this just doesn't, this injury doesn't ruin their life. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it also provides protection to the employer, because when you get injured as you're working for someone and you're injured on the job, a workers' comp claim is your exclusive remedy. So it protects that employer from being sued personally, the business being sued. So they have to go through the workers' comp avenue. Workers' comp is an insurance that most employers in South Carolina are required to carry, just like we're all required to carry uninsured motorists when we're driving in our cars, because people can get hurt with cars. So there's an insurance policy out there that every single employer actually that has 4 or more employees is required to have. And if you file a workers' comp claim, that claim is not against your employer. It's against their workers' comp insurance coverage.
So, I've been doing this 29 years, and one of the questions we always get when people get hurt on the job, well, I like my boss, or, I like the company I work for. I don't want to do them any harm. They told me they were going to pay for my bills. Unfortunately, they turn it into their insurance company. The employer turns it into their workers' comp carrier. And, mindful of this, they've been paying premiums to this workers' comp insurance company probably for years and have very few claims. But as soon as they get a claim, it gets assigned to an adjuster. And the first thing the adjuster wants to do is stop all the benefits and not pay. So some of the benefits that they're entitled to, like Kevin said, is to protect them. So Kevin, kind of go over what some of those benefits are and how insurance companies are likely to try to deny those benefits.
Okay. So under workers' comp in South Carolina, you're entitled to 3 types of benefits. First off, any medical treatment that is related to the injury, the work-related injury, is covered by workers' comp insurance. What an insurance company will do is there and say, there's either a pre-existing condition or that the injury didn't actually happen at work. And so they'll try and put up some barriers to that right there. The second is they're entitled to, if they're written out of work for a certain amount of time, they're entitled to start receiving what's called their weekly checks. A lot of people call workers' comp checks. That's going to be 2/3 of their weekly wage that they were making, so they're not getting their full paycheck. They're actually taking a pretty significant pay cut if they do get workers' comp checks, but it does create some money coming in for them. An insurance company in those situations will say that they're still able to go back to work, even though it's obvious that this person cannot based on the injury, so they'll try to push them back to work.
Yeah, they'll try to actually interfere with the doctor's opinion. They'll send the nurse case manager and they're going to put words in the doctor's mouth to get them back to work. So it's pretty tough. So that's so what was the other benefit they're entitled to?
So they've got the medical bills are handled, workers' comp checks if they're written out for a certain amount of time, and in the end they're entitled to compensation for any impairment or damage to certain body parts. So if at the end of their medical treatment, let's say they had a knee injury and the doctor says that knee is 5% impaired now going forward, they're entitled to compensation to make up for that 5% injury to their knee. So those are the 3 types of benefits that they're entitled.
Yeah, so one of the ways that the employer is protected is they're not subject to pain and suffering, mental anguish, emotional distress, and they don't have to pay, for lawyers. Typically the insurance company will get involved and they will have an adjuster, administer the claim. So, to dispel the myth that, if I file a workers' comp claim, I'm going to put my company out of business, or I'm going to, cause harm to my employer, and I like my employer. So we wanted to kind of dispel that myth because, quite frankly, insurance companies have been charging premiums, and all we're doing is holding them accountable.
Yeah.
And making sure that the worker who's been injured, is properly cared for.
So as we wrap up, real quick, what are some tips to give someone if they think they have a claim? What do they do? How can you walk them through?
Well, one of the most important things is if they are hurt on the job and they want to create as little confusion as possible, is report that injury. They need to report, because the longer they wait for that report, the insurance company is going to say, well, then it didn't happen at work.
Do they report to their employer or the insurance company, or both?
The employer.
They report to their employer at the job as soon as it happens. As soon as something happens and they're aware of an injury, they need to make somebody aware of that so that process can start.
Gotcha.
Just like if you got in a car wreck, you call somebody immediately. You don't wait a month and then let them know. It's just the same thing.
Okay. Well, a lot of good information. If you have any questions, feel free to call the guys here and they will be able to help you out and give you some advice and some counsel. So stay right here. We'll be back for 843 TV.